What is going on, my homies? You're gonna notice a couple things. One, we're not at the lake, we're at the pool. Very good reason for that. Two, I got pink shorts on. That means two things. I am going in the pool and I'm gonna do it for you. So here's what we're gonna do. There's been a lot of talk about this mid-strolling, hover strolling kind of technique. Jacob Wheeler's been talking about it, Tactical Basson's been talking about it, and you are 100% gonna see it either, depending on your opinion, destroy tournament fishing or evolve tournament fishing on Bass, MLF, all those tournament series. But one thing a lot of guys aren't talking about is what kind of jig heads to use and how the jig head changes the action on the bait. So what I wanted to do, and this might not be a good decision on my part because the water is absolutely frigid, I'm going to get in the pool and we're going to shoot some underwater video with these various hover stroll, mid stroll jig heads rigged up with a plastic, see how the action changes depending on the jig head so that you can pick what you think will catch the most fish on your lake. So hit that like and subscribe button, and I'm gonna get a towel and my ass is going in the pool. This is bad. Just remember, I'm doing this for you. Freaking freezing, bro. This sucks. Oh. So you're welcome for freezing my ass off, dude. So I got in the pool, and I think I got some really good information. Just to give you kind of a baseline and let you know what are the factors in our little experiment. We used a few different baits. We used Gambler FFS Minnow 4-inch. We used the Gambler FFS Minnow in 3.5. We used a Spunk Shed 3.5-inch. And then we also used what's called a BR fish from Duo Realis. That bait matches up with one of the unique jig heads. It's sort of a little bit different than all the rest that we used. I'm gonna start with a baseline. The first one that we tested was the classic, and that's the ball head. This is the Scottsboro Hellfire ball head. This is the one that I use for my Kitex. It's super straightforward, catch a bunch of fish on it. What we found is kind of what I expected with that 4-inch minnow. It's a very glide-oriented bait. It's super simple, doesn't have much action. You can shake it a bit and get a little bit of darting action, but what we were really looking for is that rolling back and forth kind of action, and that did not happen. That doesn't mean it's bad, especially for cooler water situations. It is kind of like the standard, dude. I've caught a ton of fish on it, so it doesn't make me sort of disregard it as a player, but when it came to looking for that side-to-side action, the ball head, just standard, is not giving it. So I'm gonna talk about the one that surprised me the most, and this is sort of my little hypothesis. So I thought if you took a Ned head with a flat head and maybe like a little bit of a teardrop on it, you could get some of that rocking action and maybe stall the bait a little bit more. So what we tested is, this is a True South Ned head, the straight up Ned. I think Mustad makes a mold kind of like this as well. One note too is every jig that we used except one was an 1/8 ounce, and every jig was tied on using a loop knot to give it kind of that free motion. So this guy surprised me the most, and I'm super excited about it because this is the one that I sort of hypothesized would work, and it did. Wasn't perfect, I think it's gonna take a little tweaking, but basically this True South has a flat sort of teardropped head, and what I was thinking is it has sort of like a scrounger head type layout to it, and when that water would hit that flat head, it would cause it to rock because that resistance will sort of stall the head, and that pressure will kind of force that resistance to create basically the energy of a rocking back and forth bait. And that is what happened. Now note, it wouldn't happen when you simply reeled it. You had to give kind of a soft little pop to the rod in order to get that rocking back and forth. And one thing that we found across all of these baits is that there was a fine line between way too much action and a nice little pop and roll. Because this is such a finesse technique, you really have to be like less is more. And we found that even with getting these baits to roll, you could easily overdo it and then it's all over the place. But just to get that little bit roll, you had to do that slightly soft kind of, almost like a very slack line-ish kind of shake, and you would get this thing to roll. And this was a surprise, like the Ned head roll. So I was pretty stoked about that one. The other one we tested is actually a new one, and this one was specifically designed to do that roll, and that's the Owner roller ball. This is on Tackle Warehouse. I just ordered them. I think they just came in. We tested that one on the 3-inch Gambler FFS Minnow. The biggest thing with this roller ball is you can see, just like that scrounger concept we were talking about, it has a slight lead buildup around the nose, or around the eye, I guess, where the eye meets the ball head. and that actually has sort of a V like that, like a kind of a triangular sort of shape. And basically the water hits that, and as we saw in the pool, it does cause it to rock back and forth. This was probably the most consistent performing jig of all the ones that we tested when it came to that side to side kind of rolling back and forth action. And obviously it's designed for that specifically by owner. I think you're gonna see a lot more jigs like this. It was pretty cool. We did not test it on the spunk shad, but I think with the spunk shad, you probably even see it even more pronounced with that side to side shaking wobble. I'm very excited about this one though. It's going to be a player because it slightly differentiates your bait from just your standard guys throwing ball heads, throwing just standard kind of mid-stroll type jigs, because you're getting that shake, you're getting that differentiation. So the last one we tried, and this one is sort of the outlier of the group, we tried a Duo Realis. This is the glider fin. It's more of a darting style jig, and actually that was reflected by what we saw underwater. So versus sort of that static sort of gliding retrieve or that rocking that we were looking for, this guy we actually, when we did that rod tip action, we got a lot more of like a jerkbait feel. You use it with what's called the BR fish. It's kind of a system that Duo Realis developed, and we noticed it is a little bit heavier and it's a lot more erratic. So this is a 3/16, and when you'd pop it, you'd have to give it some action and this thing would fly back and forth. I would look at this as more of like a summer style bait when you have those fish that are chasing shad, sort of schooling in that. It's definitely more erratic with that darter head. It's more of a fluke kind of retrieve with that hunting style, crazy, unpredictable action. And you definitely had to fish it faster to impart that action. Whereas with the ball head, the Ned head, and the roller ball from owner, you kind of had the option. You could fish very slow, do some subtle rod, you know, pops and that, or you could speed it up and kind of pop it, slackline it, pop it, slackline it. The Duo Realis, you really needed to really kind of snap that rod and be super erratic about it. But it was kind of cool. Like it moved very quick. It looked kind of like a darting shad. Definitely something that would be interesting for ledge season from a finesse standpoint. Put it down on the bottom and just pop that thing and have it dart back and forth. But that was kind of our overall find. I was really surprised by this Ned. This is something I'm going to play with out on the water, and I'm kind of stoked because I kind of thought it would work, and it's cool to see, you know, concepts when they come together for once, you know, actually do the action that you're predicting that they have. I'm gonna play around with this jig head and see if we can't develop something off of it too. And then the other thing that you will see me throwing 1000% is this roller ball. It definitely imparts that side-to-side action, and it just is gonna be something different. You're gonna see this on so many tournament trails. You've already heard Jacob Wheeler, Tactical, all these guys talking about it. It's only gonna become more and more mainstream. So it's about variation, differentiation, doing things slightly different, but using that same concept, just like we talk about with anything else. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll put links to all this stuff at Tackle Warehouse down in the description box so you can go check it out. If you got anything to add, any perspectives, any baits, any jig heads, I'm always interested in that stuff. So drop it on in. I hope you guys enjoyed this test though. We might do a couple more of these while we're down in Florida. Hit that like and subscribe button for me though. We will see you back out of the water, or me freezing my ass off in pink shorts in the pool to figure out the best action on baits.